So I'm now going to hand it over to Dr. Steve Maurer to talk to you about family transitions.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. And can you hear me far in the back? Okay. Good afternoon, welcome. I know you've been here, met some of you this morning. I recognize that it's Friday. Some of you got up early this morning, traveled. It's been a long day. You just had lunch. Food coma. Okay. I'll do my best to keep you awake at least for the next half hour or so. So we know that your son or daughter, your family member who's heading off to college, most of orientation focuses on them, and that makes sense. But we also know that when we send a family member, a son or daughter off to college, we as parents, we as family members go through a transition as well. So we're going to talk a little bit about your sons and daughters, but much of this session we're going to shift the spotlight onto you as parents and as family members. So that's just a heads up. We have three different goals for this session. One, we want to provide a context for what you might be experiencing to help make a little bit more sense for you. A second thing we want to do is we want to normalize what you're experiencing, okay? Now, in the interest of keeping you awake and getting you involved and proving my point, I'm going to ask you a series of questions, okay? And when I ask the question, if it's true for you, I'd like you to raise your hand. Now, when I'm teaching college classes, when I ask my students to raise their hands, this is how college students typically raise their hands. Okay? Don't be a college student, okay? Be a parent, raise your hand, and if you would, hold it up for a second or two, okay? Just keep it up there for a bit. If you promise to do that, I promise to ask you super easy questions that you cannot get wrong, okay? You can't get them wrong, I promise. Deal? I ask easy questions, you raise your hand. Deal? Okay, first question. How many of you, to varying degrees, are excited about your son or daughter heading off to college? Look around. Normal. This is normal. How many of you, to varying degrees, might be nervous or anxious about them heading off to college? Look around. Normal. Any of you really happy that they're leaving for college? That was a little quick, sir. Yeah, normal. Any of you feeling some sadness about them leaving? Look around. Normal. Normal, normal, normal. And if you looked around, you know that a lot of folks raise their hands for 2 or 3 or all 4 of those emotions, and that's normal. It's normal for us as family members to experience this whole bunch of different emotions, and they ebb and they flow, and you all watch the skits, right? You're laughing, and then you tear up, and then you laugh some more. So that is normal that we have this range of emotions, and we cycle through those. And it's normal that we experience those differently. Some of us feel them real strongly, and some of us don't feel them at all. So when I ask the question about how many of you are anxious, there's a lot of folks who just don't raise their hands. Now, I don't go all psychologist on them. I'm not thinking, well, clearly that's a Freudian defense mechanism. You're in denial of your emotions, and we need to get to work to get you in touch with those. That's not what I'm thinking. What am I thinking? Oh, they're not anxious. Good. Okay? So it's normal to not feel all of those. It's normal to feel all of those. Okay? There's not one right way to experience this. Now, if we ramp up the intensity of the emotion and we keep ramping it up, we could probably recognize we get to a place that's not very normal, okay? If you're so anxious about them heading off to college that you actually are going to buy a house across Cleveland Avenue. You're trying to talk public safety and res life into installing cameras in their residence hall. And you are signing up for every one of the classes that they are and joining all the clubs that they are. Not normal, okay? Please don't do that. And if you're so excited about them heading off to college that your plan is to leave them here today and go home without them, I get it, but please, we're not going to let you do that. We're excited about them coming too, but not yet. We still have some work to do before we're ready for them, okay? On the other hand, if you are so sad about them leaving for college that when you start crying, you can't stop, that's not normal. I had a mom a number of years ago sitting in the very middle of the room, and I get here for my presentation about 15 minutes early, and she's all alone, and she's at the table crying, okay? And I do my presentation, and she cries through the whole thing. And then we had a break, and we answered some questions, and she's still sitting there crying. And so on my way out, I couldn't help but stop by the table and go, "Excuse me, I noticed that you've been crying for the last hour and a half. Is everything okay?" And she just looked at me and she said, "Oh, it's okay, I'm just a little weepy." You think? Okay. And yes, it's normal for us to feel some sadness, and it's normal for us to cry at times. But if you're crying, if your sadness is so overpowering that it gets in the way of the excitement, or it gets in the way of joy of this transition, there's probably something else going on. And we don't want that. We want you to feel sad if you're sad, but also to feel the joy and the excitement, hopefully that your son or daughter is as well. So if you find yourself with these really, really intense emotions that may not be normal, we're hoping that you talk with somebody about that, okay? Because we want you to experience the full range of all that. Okay, so the last goal is we want to answer your questions. That's the whole point of orientation. Not just for your daughters and sons, but for you as parents and family members. So when your daughter or son starts here in the fall, that you're more comfortable, that you have the knowledge and information that you need. So please, ask questions, track people down, find out what it is that you need to know. Now, if you're like me, I don't like asking questions in large groups of people, and so I typically don't. And when, of course, do I think of my really good questions? On the way home, okay? And if you're like me in either of those ways, don't worry about it. Give us a call, shoot us an email. Shoot me an email, okay? I don't care if I'm the right person or not. If you got a question, contact me, and if I'm not the right person, I'll help you figure out who is. We, as a community, want to make sure that you have the information you need as part of your transition. Individuality. Always remember that you're unique, just like everybody else, okay? There's truth to both parts of this. We know that there are common things, common themes, and experiences that students will go through and that you as parents go through. You just demonstrated that when you raised your hands. But we also know that as parents, certainly just like our students, we all come into this transition with different hopes and expectations and fears and experiences and limitations. And we really, really want to recognize that, okay? So again, I'm going to ask you a series of questions. And again, they'll be easy ones. And I think one of these you may have heard already today. For how many of you is this your first son or daughter going off to college? So a lot of you, so it's all brand new. A lot of it is kind of strange and weird, and it's a foreign land, okay? How many of you is this your second? Okay, so again, quite a few of you, but it may not be at St. Thomas, as some of the St. Thomas stuff might be new. Any of you, this is your third? Okay, so we're getting to the veterans here. Any of you four? Your fourth? Oh, wow, quite a few. Any of you 5 or more? How many, if I may ask? Your 5th. Congratulations, okay. Now, I have only sent 2 kids off to college. Clearly, you know way more about this than I do. So I'm going to have you come up, finish the presentation. I'll go home early. No, they're not biting on it, okay? Couple more questions. For how many of you is this your last son or daughter going off to college? Okay, so that's a whole different experience. You might be looking at the empty nest in September, which is really, really different. Are there any of you where it's both your first and your last? Okay, you get the daily double. It's all brand new, and you might be looking at the empty nest. Last question for now. For how many of you will your daughters or sons, your family member, be living at home and commuting to campus? Any commuter parents? Okay, for those of you where your son or daughter or family member is living at home, the experience is really, really different, but it's still a transition. And in some ways, for families, it's a more difficult transition because the lines are real different. You know, if I live in Omaha, I'm pretty sure my kid's not coming home every weekend. I'm pretty sure that a curfew at having them in their, in their dorm at 10 o'clock is not going to work. So the lines are a little blurry, but the transition is there for families none the same. Okay, so this is the special treatment we get. We deliver. Our big guy, he delivers. Okay? Thanks, Josh. Hopefully it's obvious that when we talk about your experience as parents, that nothing I'm going to say is going to apply to any one of you perfectly or all of you perfectly, because that's not how it works. Think about it. If this is your first son or daughter leaving for college and you've got 3 more at home, that's a really different experience if it's your 5th and you're looking at the empty nest. It's a really different experience if your son or daughter is living at home versus you live in a different part of St. Paul and they're living on campus. Or if you live in Sartell or Duluth or Omaha or Los Angeles. It's a very different experience for us as parents when we're 5 hours away versus 5 minutes away. So of course your experiences are different. So take everything I say moving forward kind of with a grain of salt, because it's not a one-size-fits-all. And again, you've demonstrated that. Okay, so this part, the biggest take-home on this particular section is that we have a counseling center. Everybody hear that? We have a counseling center, okay? So broadly speaking, we have 3 sets of services. The biggest thing we provide is counseling, hence the name. Individual and group counseling. You as parents and family members are not eligible for that particular service, okay? Your sons and daughters will be eligible in the fall when they get here for classes, that first week of classes, okay? Second thing we do is we do a lot of outreach and training. We go into classrooms, we train the orientation leaders and res life staff. We work with faculty and help train them on different topics. So we do a lot of outreach and training in the community. And then finally, we do consultation. People consult with us. Again, everybody in the community, this is open to them. Faculty might call and they're wondering about a situation with a student. So we help folks explore what's going on and what might be an appropriate way to move forward, and we work that out with them. Now, as parents, you are eligible for this particular service. You get to consult with us. If you're concerned about your daughter or son, if you're concerned about a situation, we invite and welcome you to call us and consult with us. Now, again, your daughters and sons, they're not eligible for services until that first week of classes when they get here. You as parents are eligible for the consultation starting today, okay, this afternoon. And we invite and encourage you, starting this afternoon for the next 4 years or as long as they're a student here, to consult with us if you have questions. We started orientations on Monday, and I have done consultations with 3 different sets of parents and students already. And my staff may have done additional consultations as well. So we invite you to, again, get those questions answered. A couple more things about our services. We work very, very closely and are in the process of integrating our services with health services. Health services are medical clinic on campus. And so we want you to know that we have a medical clinic, we want you to know we have a counseling center, and that we work really, really closely together with health services and wellness and campus ministry and the faculty and Res Life. We try and create a very, very strong safety net, and we are one part of meeting student mental health needs, along with all of these other departments. 2 other things that parents oftentimes want to know about. Our services are all confidential, so if your daughter or son is coming to us for counseling or services, we cannot tell you. That's illegal and unethical. We're hoping, and we work to have our students, our clients, talk with their parents as a part of their support network. And then the other thing is that our counseling services are free. There's no additional cost for that. And that's kind of always good to hear as a parent. Okay. Now, if you have any questions, again, about specific questions about our resources, please feel free to contact me, follow up with me. I got to lapse into theory a little bit. We are a university, okay? So I'm going to talk briefly about a theory of college student development. And these folks have been studying this for about the last 40 or 50 or might even be 60 years now. And they always come up with these same results. So we know these are really robust findings. These are the things that your daughters and sons will be working on over the next 4 years, okay? So we'll take a look at those fairly quickly. Achieving competence. That just means they get better at stuff. They're more competent at doing their laundry, the bus system, the content of their major. They get better at stuff. Managing their emotions. What does it mean to be homesick? What does it mean to have my boyfriend or girlfriend 4,000 miles away at a different college or back at high school as a senior at home? What does it mean that I've always been kind of a big deal in my high school, and now I'm at a place where it feels like everybody's a big deal, and I don't stand out in the same way I used to? So managing emotions. Developing interpersonal relationships, they'll be working on that. And right out of the blocks, we see that in 2 big areas. For a lot of our students, they may have grown up with the same group of friends, kindergarten, grade school, middle school, high school, And they may now be coming to college, and they might not know anyone. So the first time that they can ever really remember, they may be starting a social network from scratch. So that's one way. The other thing is we know that the majority of our students have never had a roommate before. Okay. And if they have had a roommate, who's it probably been? Yeah, a brother or a sister, okay? Now, I've got 7 brothers and sisters, and back in the day, and I'm pretty sure this holds true now because I did with my own sons, do siblings ever pull rank based on age? Yeah. They don't get to do that anymore, okay? So on move-in day, let's say Scott and I are roommates, I don't figure out, well, Scott, your birthday is in April. Well, mine's in March. I'm a month older. Therefore, I get the biggest, closet, and I get the bottom bunk because I'm older. And what is Scott saying? Oh, no, 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 no. So I don't get to pull rank. I have to negotiate with him. We have to talk about this. And so that can look real different right out of the blocks. Students will be establishing their identity, their sense of who they are and what they're about, what's important to them. What are their purposes? What are their values in terms of faith, in terms of career, in terms of politics, in terms of life directions that they want to go, in terms of relationships? They'll develop integrity, and that simply means they integrate these things. Their values are reflected in the decisions that they make. And then finally, they'll achieve this sense of autonomy and interdependence. They'll be more independent from you in some ways, and then they'll increasingly recognize how they're dependent on you in other ways. So again, we're very confident this is what we'll see. This is what the research has shown for 60 years. But I'm asking you as parents, when you look at that list, is anything up there actually new for your daughter or son? And I'll cut to the chase. The answer is no. Nothing up there is new. These are the things that you have been working on with them for the last 18 years. Okay? You know what you're doing. So when it comes to parenting, you got this. When it comes to what they need from you over the next 4 years, it's pretty much the same stuff you've been doing for a long, long time. And we want you to hang on to that. One, because especially for first-time parents, this is all new and strange, and it can feel pretty disconcerting at times. But know that as parents, you're standing on really firm ground. You know what you're doing. And that might, for me, be the most important take-home. As parents, you know what you're doing. Stick with that. Think of your daughter or son that's coming off to college. Do you remember when they learned how to walk? That was a long time ago, hopefully. Did anybody else do that where you help them walk? Anybody else? Okay. What did you do if you wanted them to walk? What did you know you eventually had to do? Can you say that more loudly, please? You let go. And you all let go, right? Oh, please nod. Think about it. The alternative would be that we've got some 6'2", 190-pound young man out there going, Mom, Dad, little help here? I got to get to the next thing. No, you all let go. Why? Because that's what we do as parents. If we want our kids to walk on their own, if we want them to be independent, we let go. And what did you know was going to happen when you let go? They're going to fall down. Of course they are. Nobody had the illusion that when you let go, your kid's going to go, well, thank you. Walking's easy. I've been able to do this a long time. No. You let go knowing full well they're going to fall down. And you did it anyway. Okay? One of the things that frightens a lot of us as parents when our kids go out to college is this idea of letting go. And of course, it can be really difficult to varying degrees. Another reality, though, is that you have been doing this a long, long, long time. Parenting is nothing if not a long process of letting go at different times of different things in different ways. Okay? We let go when they learn how to walk, and they're a little wobbly at first. We let go when they learn how to swim, and yes, they suck in a lot of pool water, they drink a lot of lake water by accident, but they learn. You let go of the back of the seat, and off they go. You let go that first time they get on the school bus or the first time you drop them off at daycare. You let go when you give her the keys to the car and off she drives. So the letting go is not easy necessarily, but it's not new. You've done this before. You've been doing it a long, long time. So in this sense, we're not asking you to do anything that's new or different. We're asking you to continue to let go. Continue to let go, knowing that this is what they need in order to be independent. We also have to let go of our expectations, okay? As parents, we all have expectations of our children. My child will be a child prodigy. Well, they're adults now, so it's too late, okay? They're not going to be child prodigies at this point. My child will be the CEO of an international corporation and kind of a big deal and then fund my retirement really, really soon, okay? My child will be the next genius, or my child will have really great hair, okay? Take your pick. My child will be a national champion athlete here at St. Thomas. My child will take over the family farm, the family business, will follow in the family occupation. We're all plumbers, and I'm hoping my son will graduate and take over the plumbing business. We're all lawyers or doctors or teachers. But these are our hopes and expectations, and we have to let them go because they might not be the path that our daughters and sons are called to follow. So we have to do some of that letting go. We have to let go of our expectations of what their college experience will or should be. It should be just like mine, or it should be nothing like mine. Now, it's interesting that all of you laugh at the second one, but nobody recognizes the first one. Okay? The reality is we hope it doesn't look like either one of those too much. If they're spending all of their time studying, they're doing it wrong, and they're missing out on all of the wonderful opportunities here at St. Thomas. We want them to study, but we also want them to enjoy the richer, broader experiences here. If they're doing the latter one, they'll flunk out eventually, okay? Because that's what happened in Animal House, that's what will happen with them. We want them to have a social life. We want them to enjoy themselves. But we want to help them find what's the balance for them of being social and working really, really hard. Getting a good education, but in a broad way, again, that takes advantages of what there are here to offer. But we have to let go, because think about it. If you went to college, how many of you had cell phones in college? How many of you had laptop computers? Of course you didn't. Their experience will be different. And if you didn't go to college, what are you basing those expectations on? It's probably stories you hear or things you see in the media or hear in the media, and those are probably extremes. So those are probably wrong as well. It's going to be their experience, and we have to kind of see how that unfolds. And that can be difficult to let go of as well. Now, as parents, we have a lot of what-ifs that run through our heads oftentimes. What if he can't get into the classes he wants? What if she gets a lousy professor? What if he can't find a job when he graduates? What if she picks the wrong major? What if he gets sick? What if she hates her roommate? What if he does some of the stupid things I did in college? Okay? Again, you laugh at that one. What if, what if, what if? So we've got all these what ifs that are running through our heads. And if that's true for you, if you're one of those parents that has all those what ifs running through your head, good. Those are great questions. Those are really important questions to ask. Those are such important questions that's why we have orientation. That's why we have so many departments here at St. Thomas to support your students. It's why we have health services. We have a medical clinic where students can go if they're feeling sick, a little sick or a lot sick. It's why we have campus ministry. It's why we have career counselors. It's why we have academic counselors and faculty advisors. We have all of these resources to address those really good questions that you're asking. So keep asking those great questions. And then recognize that the answer now is that you don't have to do all this stuff. Our job as parents is now to steer our daughters and sons to all the resources that they have here. So we want to take some of the heavy lifting off of you so that you can focus on the really good parenting part. Okay? Good questions. Keep asking them. Less spoken concerns of parents is, will my son or daughter be okay? And underneath that is a heavier question, have I done enough as a parent at this point? Well, there's only two possibilities, folks. No, you haven't, okay? Don't worry, we're not going to get into a large group therapy, not on a Friday afternoon. The reality is, yes, you have done enough. Now, you've not done it perfectly. None of us do it perfectly as parents. We all make mistakes. We learn on the fly. We're making it up as we go. And sometimes we make the same mistakes over and over and over again. but you did enough as a parent that you now have a daughter or son, a family member who's ready to start college. So good job. So let's go on to some more important questions, having answered this one. Will they change? And the answer is, yes, we hope so. If 4 years from now they haven't changed, what a waste of time and money. If they haven't changed in 4 years, you have failed as parents. We have failed as a community. Of course they're going to change. The question is, in what ways? And that remains to be seen. Will you change? I'm not sure, but because they're going to change, your relationship with them will change. So just know that. And this is especially for those parents who are new to this, this is one of those glorious, wonderful opportunities to establish this new and different relationship with your sons and daughters. Okay? Will they come home again? I don't know. I don't know what you're hoping for on that one. But in most important ways, yes, they will come home again. And will they still need me? And the answer is yes, absolutely. Whether or not you want that to be the case, they need you. In some ways, more now than ever before. For most of our students, this is the biggest transition in their life up to this point. So all of those fundamental things that they work on over the next 4 years, they need parents for those. We'll do our part in helping support those areas of development and growth, but they need you. Your job as parents continues to be extremely important. It's not narrowed down to doing laundry when they come home and writing a big check every semester. They need you for the really, really important stuff, just like they have the last 18 years. Now, the famous American philosopher John Cougar Mellencamp, thank you, some of you have read his work, yes, said there's nothing more sad or glorious than generations changing hands. And whether this is your first son or daughter going off to college or your last, make no mistake, generations are changing hands. They're changing right now as we speak. They're changing today. They're changing in the fall. Generations are changing hands. And for us as parents, this adds an existential component to this. And so it makes sense that this is a more difficult letting go. It makes sense that the sadness might be a little stronger. The excitement might be a little stronger. The emotions are a little bit bigger because of this existential component. Now, one thing that we wish more parents would talk about is, will I be okay as a parent or a family member? And we hope the answer is yes. Be okay. Do what it takes to be okay. Talk with people. Talk with your son or daughter. Talk with your spouse, your partner, your family. Talk with other parents. We want you to be okay, both for your sake, but also for your students' sake. Because we know that if mom or dad is really struggling with me leaving for college, when I go off to college, there's probably a part of my heart that is back home trying to take care of mom or dad. So the better you're doing with this transition, the better your daughters or sons will do. So if you can't do it for yourself, do it for them. Be okay. Make sure that you're okay. We'd like you to think about what ways your household will be changing, whether they're living at home or moving on to campus. Relationships and dynamics change. You take one person out of the household in the way they've been there before, and things shift. What are the reactions of the other kids at home? Okay? When we drop our oldest son off to college, okay, our 15-year-old son is with, and we load him into his room, and we hug goodbye, and the three of us, my wife and our 15-year-old, we jump into the van, and off we go. And our 15-year-old bursts into tears. He's distraught. There's nothing good about this for him. This isn't exciting. It's all loss. It's pure loss. Okay? His best friend is now off to college, and he is stuck at home living with the two lamest parents on the planet. That's a quote, by the way. And my wife wants to make sure that you know that she is only number two, that I am the lamest parents on the planet, okay? And for the record, 2 weeks later, that 15-year-old loved having his brother gone. It was great. It was great. He could talk at the supper table without Big Mouth interrupting him all the time. So he adjusted. But what are the reactions of everyone else in the household? Tasks and chores, think about it. When your daughter or son leaves for college, who's going to do all that work around the house that they do? Wow, there wasn't mocking laughter at that. You actually have kids who do a lot of chores around the house? Well, you're better parents than me. Awesome. I mean, the one thing I do hear from parents is that if you have kids at home who don't have their driver's license, you just lost one of your chauffeurs. And that we found to be true as well. Physical spaces and things. What kind of changes will you make, particularly to their room? Okay, I get it. It's your house. You get to rent out their room if you want. You can turn it into a scrapbook room or a workout room or a man cave or a she cave, whatever you want. It's your house. But really think about if you want to do that. Because when I ask the question, will they come home again? An unspoken question for many college students, first-year students, is, can I go home again? They want that assurance that you haven't moved on and forgotten them. And I know it sounds ridiculous, but that is a fear that many students have. Now, we go through transitions as parents. I grieved when my daughter left for college, and then I grieved when she came home for Christmas break. If this happens to you, good. If you experience this, you're doing it right. Because what it means is that when your daughter's son left, you grieved, but then you adjusted, okay? We adjusted our family to having a clean house, to having a quiet house, okay? To having conversations that were more mutual. And when our son came back and when your kid comes home, of course we love our kids. It's great to have them back. But we realize our oldest son, he's a pig, okay? He's a mess. And so we grieved a little. We had to adjust again when he came back. So that's really normal if that happens. They leave, you establish a new normal, and then when they come back, they disrupt that a little bit. Okay? Normal, normal, normal. We hope there's some different things. Not going to move through these fairly quickly, but just some ideas of things you may want to be thinking about talking about your daughters and sons with. If they're living at home, what might a curfew look like? How are you going to deal with finances? Healthcare issues. The big one here is that they've got ongoing medical healthcare issues or mental health issues. Do you want to have them continue to get those services at home with your providers, or do you want to shift that onto campus? And so something to think about. This next one is really, the text and emails is simply about communication. Get on the same page, kind of. You think you're going to hear from your daughter, 15 times a day, and she's thinking, every 2 weeks or so should be good. I don't know what the right answer is, but again, we don't want people to feel hurt because their expectations were real different. Teach them how to do laundry. How often will you visit, and how often do you expect them to visit? How will they spend time when they are at home with you? Transportation issues. Do they have home responsibilities, other responsibilities? Will they have a job on campus? How do you deal with pets at home? Again, the room's personal spaces. If you got to rent out their room, do it, but keep them in the loop. Don't let them know when they get home at Thanksgiving. Oh, yeah, you're sleeping on the couch. You don't have a room anymore, okay? Bottom line is, who makes these decisions about their life, okay? These are important decisions. Make no mistake, you in general are better decision makers than they are. You do better than the 18-year-old. But again, how do you help them learn how to walk? Which of these and in what ways can you let go and let them make some of these decisions? Now, you want to be there so they don't fall and get hurt too badly, but how do you help them learn how to make decisions? You do that by, again, letting go in an appropriate way. So, quick wrap up. What you're experiencing is normal, and if you really think it's not, talk with somebody and figure out what's going on. You are familiar with the changes that they're going through now and that they'll be going through over the next 4 years. Steady on. You know what you're doing. Your family is changing. Like it or not, it's changing. Your students still need you in really fundamental ways. And then finally, be okay. Again, talk with other parents. Come onto campus. Become a part of the St. Thomas family. But be okay. Now, we're about to move into our next session, so I'm just going to wrap up by saying welcome to the Tommie family. I hope you enjoy the rest of the day. If you have questions, I'll be at the parent reception, and you can always shoot me an email. But with that, enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Thank you.